Tom Cruise didn't just jump on Oprah's couch for love. He did it for her. But what looked like a fairy tale turned into one of Hollywood's darkest secrets. Katie Holmes is finally speaking out about the terrifying reality of her marriage, the secret calls to Nicole Kidman, the burner phones, and the Scientology spies who watched her every move. At 46, she's breaking her silence and exposing the truth about the nightmare she barely escaped. Katie Holmes came from Toledo, Ohio, the youngest of 5 kids in a tight-knit Catholic family. Even before fame, she was a standout. At Notre Dame Academy, an all-girls Catholic school, she had a perfect 4.0 GPA and lit up the stage in plays at nearby all-boys schools. She was the definition of smart and ambitious. By 1996, Katie crushed her SATs with a 1310 out of 1600, an elite score that got her accepted into Columbia University. Her dad, a lawyer and former basketball player at Marquette, dreamed she'd go into medicine. But destiny had other plans. Katie dipped into Columbia for a summer photography course, but acting was already calling her name loud and clear. It all started back in 1992 when 14-year-old Katie joined a local modeling school in Toledo. That simple move led her straight to the International Modeling and Talent Association competition in New York, a life-changing moment. Even without any Hollywood connections or experience, she caught everyone's attention. A talent agent signed her right after seeing her raw potential. That same year, she filmed a homemade audition tape right in her basement with her mom reading the other lines. That humble tape would change her entire life forever. She mailed it to casting agents while finishing high school, and one copy landed in the hands of director Ang Lee himself. He was casting for The Ice Storm, starring Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. Katie got the part, her very first role, playing Libet's Casey. By early 1997, before she even graduated high school, she was acting alongside Hollywood legends. Her audition wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a quiet monologue from To Kill a Mockingbird, but it was real, honest, and unforgettable. Hollywood took notice instantly. Soon after, she was invited to audition for a new teen drama that would change TV forever, Dawson's Creek. Creator Kevin Williamson wanted someone who felt authentic, and Katie was perfect. The only problem? She couldn't fly to Los Angeles because she had a school play. So she did what she did best, sent another basement tape. When the producers watched it, they didn't even hesitate. "That's Joey Potter," they said. Dawson's Creek premiered in January 1998, and Katie became Joey Potter from the first episode all the way to the finale in 2003, appearing in all 128 episodes. Her portrayal of Joey, the sharp, grounded girl dealing with her mom's death and her dad's arrest, hit home for millions. Her on-screen romance with Pacey Witter became one of the most iconic TV relationships of the early 2000s. By 2012, TV Guide crowned Joey and Pacey one of the best TV couples of all time. Katie Holmes wasn't just a breakout star. She was a cultural phenomenon. Her rise to fame was fast, real, and unstoppable. But what came next would change her life forever. Katie Holmes wasn't just a TV star. She became a full-blown phenomenon. Her face was everywhere, gracing the covers of Rolling Stone and TV Guide over a dozen times. One Rolling Stone piece even said teenage girls would scream the second they saw her. Katie once admitted that her academic roots actually helped her handle the complex dialogue on Dawson's Creek. Some lines were packed with such advanced words that she had to pull out a dictionary before filming. That discipline, that sharp focus, it followed her into everything she did. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise's story was built on chaos from day one. Born in 1962 in Syracuse, New York, as Thomas Cruise Mapother IV, his early years were far from glamorous. By the time he turned 14, he had already bounced between 15 different schools, moving constantly between the U.S. and Canada. He never stayed long enough to make real friends, and his childhood was marked by instability and pain. The main reason behind the endless moving? His father, Thomas Cruise Mapother III, an electrical engineer who couldn't hold down a job. Tom would later call him a merchant of chaos, saying his childhood was filled with both physical and verbal abuse. It wasn't just a rough home, it was a war zone. When Tom was 12, his mother, Mary Lee Pfeiffer, finally decided enough was enough. She was a special education teacher, strong and determined. One day she packed up her 4 kids and left her husband for good. That was the first step toward rebuilding their lives from scratch. But Tom still had one more challenge: dyslexia. Reading was a nightmare, school was torture, and his confidence was crushed. Still, he pushed through. He found some peace in sports, especially wrestling. It gave him structure, something solid to fight for. But fate struck again when a knee injury ended his wrestling dream for good. Then came a turning point. When the family finally settled in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, Tom stumbled into something unexpected: acting. But before that, he was actually on a totally different path. At just 14, in 1976, he enrolled at St. Francis Seminary in Cincinnati, Ohio, dreaming of becoming a priest. He'd been moved by a speech from a priest named Father Rick Schneider, and he took it seriously. He went to chapel, studied hard, and genuinely considered a life in the church. His friend Shane Dempler recalled that Tom had strong beliefs and truly saw priesthood as a calling. But that dream didn't last long. One day, Tom and Shane got caught sneaking bottles of liquor from the priests. They hid them in the woods, but other kids found the stash, got drunk, and got busted. The school didn't expel Tom directly, but they sent a letter to his family saying they liked the boys, just thought it'd be best if they didn't return. That was the end of Tom's priesthood chapter. After that, he went back to public school, and that's where everything changed forever. He landed the role of Nathan Detroit in a school production of Guys and Dolls. The applause, the attention, the energy, it hit him like lightning. For the first time, Tom Cruise felt purpose. Acting gave him something that chaos never could: control. By 18, he made the boldest move of his life. With full support from his mom and new stepdad, he dropped out of high school, packed up, and headed to New York City in 1980 to chase his dream. He had no money, no connections, and no safety net, just raw ambition. He scraped by as a busboy, clearing tables by day and hitting auditions by night. But his grind paid off fast. After moving to Los Angeles, Tom caught the attention of Hollywood power players. By 1981, he signed with Creative Artists Agency, one of the biggest and most influential talent agencies in the entire industry. His rise had officially begun. Tom Cruise's Hollywood takeover started fast and fierce. His first on-screen moment came in Endless Love with Brooke Shields, a small part that cracked open the door. That same year, he landed a bigger role in Taps, and by 1983, boom, he was in The Outsiders, standing shoulder to shoulder with future legends. But it was risky business that changed everything. The iconic scene of him sliding across the floor in just a shirt and underwear became one of the most famous moments in movie history. Overnight, Tom Cruise wasn't just an actor, he was a phenomenon. By 1986, he reached superstardom with Top Gun. That movie didn't just dominate the box office. It became a full-blown cultural explosion, the highest-grossing film of the year. Suddenly, everyone on the planet knew his name. And he didn't stop there. In 2006, Premiere magazine called him Hollywood's most powerful actor, while Forbes crowned him the most powerful celebrity in the world. His fortune grew beyond imagination. Today, he's reportedly worth over $600 million, with his films raking in more than $12 billion worldwide. But behind all the glitz was still the same kid who once struggled to read, bounced from school to school, dreamed of priesthood, then washed dishes just to survive. A fighter who never stopped chasing the impossible. As for Katie Holmes, her own story was taking wild turns at the same time. In the early 2000s, she and American Pie star Chris Klein were Hollywood's golden young couple. She was the beloved Joey from Dawson's Creek, and he was the goofy heartthrob from one of the biggest comedies ever. They started dating in 2000, juggling busy careers and long distance, but somehow kept the spark alive for nearly 5 years. Katie filmed Dawson's Creek in North Carolina while Chris stayed in California, yet they made it work. In December 2003, after 3 years together, Chris popped the question, and she said yes. Their engagement was officially announced, and fans were thrilled. Back in 2002, Katie even told People magazine that distance didn't matter because they made every moment count. But love in the spotlight isn't always forever. Slowly, things started to shift. In March 2005, the engagement ended. Katie's publicist confirmed the breakup to Us Weekly, saying they'd remain friends. Chris later opened up to the Daily Beast, explaining that both of them were young, successful, and caught up in the rush of fame. When that excitement started to fade, so did the relationship. He admitted that their connection changed as their lives did. And then, shockwaves. Just weeks later, Katie was spotted in Rome with Tom Cruise. It was April 2005, their first public appearance as a couple, and fans couldn't believe it. People magazine reported they had been dating only a few weeks, but the chemistry was undeniable. What made it even crazier was something Katie had said just a year earlier, in July 2004, to 17 magazine. She once dreamed of marrying Tom Cruise. What sounded like a schoolgirl fantasy was suddenly becoming real life. Then came the moment that would define pop culture forever. On May 23, 2005, Tom Cruise sat down on the Oprah Winfrey Show to promote War of the Worlds. But the second Oprah asked about Katie, he lost it. He jumped on the couch, pumped his fist, and screamed, "I'm in love," over and over. "I met her and she's extraordinary," he shouted as the audience went wild. Oprah's face said it all. Pure shock. Months later, in November 2005, Oprah admitted on Good Morning America that she still had no idea what was really going on that day. That moment didn't just break the internet. It became one of the most unforgettable and bizarre interviews in TV history. People couldn't stop talking about that Oprah moment. It replayed everywhere. TV, tabloids, online, turning Tom Cruise's image upside down overnight. Years later, in March 2025, Tim Menke, the man who booked that Oprah appearance, spoke at the ICG Publicists Awards and revealed he was fired from Paramount after 12 years. He blamed that now infamous scene, saying, "Long story short, a couch on the Oprah Winfrey Show." Even Oprah herself later defended Tom, saying his wild excitement was genuine and that the media had gone too far. But just weeks after that viral TV moment, Tom and Katie shocked the world again. On June 16, 2005, while promoting War of the Worlds in Paris, Tom announced they were engaged, only 7 weeks after going public as a couple. He told reporters he proposed that very morning at the Eiffel Tower. Katie sat beside him glowing, flashing a massive diamond ring. Tom admitted he hadn't even slept and called it a magnificent day. He said Paris was pure romance and that it was his first time ever at the Eiffel Tower. When reporters asked if it was his most special moment in Europe, he said yes, without a second thought. Even Dakota Fanning, his young co-star from War of the Worlds, was there saying, "Tom and Katie are the nicest people. I hope they have the happiest marriage." The engagement stunned everyone. After all, just 3 months earlier, Katie had been engaged to someone else. Then 2 days before the proposal, on June 13, 2005, she revealed she was converting to Scientology. At the Batman Begins premiere, she said she was taking courses and had started auditing. In W Magazine, she called it exciting and helpful. Ending one engagement, starting another, and joining a new religion, all within 90 days, made this one of the fastest, most explosive celebrity romances Hollywood had ever seen. Then came the next bombshell. On April 18, 2006, exactly 1 year after their first public appearance, Katie gave birth to their daughter, Suri. She was born at St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, weighing 7 pounds and measuring 20 inches long. Katie's pregnancy had been announced back in October 2005, and Tom's spokesperson said they were very excited. Even before her birth, baby Suri was making headlines. Tom had reportedly bought a sonogram machine to use at home, raising major eyebrows among doctors and the public. After Suri's birth, the couple disappeared from the spotlight for 6 months. No photos, no public appearances. Then, in October 2006, the world finally saw her. Suri debuted on the cover of Vanity Fair, and that issue sold over 700,000 copies. In the interview, Tom revealed they'd chosen the name Suri before knowing the baby's gender, saying it meant red rose in Persian, adding that finding out later was just a beautiful bonus. But Tom's connection to Scientology had roots that went way back. It all began quietly in late 1985 or early 1986, when he started dating actress Mimi Rogers, the daughter of a devoted Scientologist. She introduced him to the faith, and soon after they got married in May 1987. The marriage didn't last, but his link to Scientology definitely did. Years later, former Scientology executive Marty Rathbun revealed the church itself helped end Tom's marriage to Mimi. He admitted, "I participated in the Mimi divorce," and explained that both Mimi and later Nicole Kidman had grown distant from Scientology leader David Miscavige. Rathbun claimed Miscavige didn't want them around. Mimi later joked that their breakup happened because Tom was thinking of becoming a monk. She added he believed he had to stay celibate to protect his instrument. That was the start of Tom's deep, decades-long loyalty to Scientology, a bond that would shape his life and career for over 30 years. The world really started paying attention in June 2005 when Tom appeared on NBC's Today Show for a tense interview with Matt Lauer. What began as a friendly chat turned into one of the most heated exchanges in celebrity history. Lauer brought up Tom's public criticism of Brooke Shields, who had spoken about using antidepressants after childbirth. Tom fired back hard, saying, "There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance," and calling psychiatry a pseudoscience. When Lauer pushed back, saying some people genuinely needed medication, Tom snapped, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do." For 14 minutes, he launched into a full-on Scientology-based lecture about medication, electric shock therapy, and treating the mind without drugs. The moment went viral instantly. It was intense, awkward, and unforgettable. Nearly 2 decades later, Brooke Shields shared her side of the story in her 2025 memoir. She wrote that Tom personally came to her home to apologize, telling her he'd felt cornered by Matt Lauer and took it out on her instead. Brooke accepted the apology, but admitted it wasn't the world's best apology. Tom's confidence during that time came largely from his tight relationship with Scientology leader David Miscavige. They met in the late 1980s and instantly became close. Miscavige was even Tom's best man, twice, once at his wedding to Nicole Kidman in 1990 and again at his wedding to Katie Holmes in 2006. Insiders described their bond as intense. They smoked cigars, played tennis, and even went skydiving together. Tom's former chef, Sinar Parman, once said, "It was always about who could outdo the other. He even got DM parachuting with him." Some believe Tom looked up to Miss Cabbage like a big brother, maybe even a role model. The church reportedly gave Tom his own private villa at its secretive Gold Base compound in California. But not everyone was convinced the friendship was real. Former church official John Brousseau claimed Miss Cabbage often mocked Tom behind his back. Others said the church kept Tom close for one reason: his fame, fortune, and the global attention he brought. Then came the leak that changed everything. On January 17, 2008, a 9-minute Scientology video featuring Tom Cruise exploded online. It had been filmed in 2004 when Tom received the church's highest honor, the Freedom Medal of Valor. Set to intense mission, impossible-style music, the video showed Tom speaking passionately about Scientology's power. He declared that Scientologists were the only ones who could truly help in an emergency, and claimed they were the real experts of the mind and drug recovery. The clip spread like wildfire, fueling worldwide debates about Tom, Scientology, and what really went on behind closed doors. The Church of Scientology went into full panic mode trying to bury that leaked Tom Cruise video. They fired off copyright takedown notices, calling it a stolen and edited clip from a private 3-hour event. But it was too late. The internet had already exploded. The video spread like wildfire, turning Tom into a global punchline and sparking outrage everywhere. Then came the counterattack. The hacker collective Anonymous launched Project Chanology, declaring digital war on Scientology. They crashed the church's websites and posted a chilling video message that sent shivers across the web. "We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us." While all that chaos was unfolding, another storm was brewing: Tom and Katie's whirlwind romance. It all started in April 2005, and just 2 months later, on June 13th, Katie announced she had officially joined Scientology. She revealed it at the Batman Begins premiere, and the news stunned everyone who knew her. Raised Catholic, Katie's sudden conversion left friends and family completely confused. Her longtime friend Carrie Somo said the change caused deep rifts in her family. And just 3 days after that, Tom proposed. Soon after, Katie sat down for what was supposed to be a normal W magazine interview. But it was anything but normal. A Scientology representative showed up with her and controlled every question. The rep had the power to block anything too personal or uncomfortable. Katie's words were filtered, every sentence carefully managed. Friends back home were shocked. Angela Domschott said, "It was so bizarre. We were all stunned. But when you're that in love, I guess you'll do whatever they want." Katie's parents, devout Catholics, didn't hide their concerns. Carrie Somo said bluntly, "I know her parents had an issue with it. I don't think they were happy at all." From that point, Katie barely visited Toledo anymore. Her relative Thomas Higgins recalled, "She used to babysit for us. Now she only comes back for funerals." Then came the fairy tale wedding, at least on the surface. On November 18, 2006, Tom and Katie tied the knot at the 15th century Odescalchi Castle in Bracciano, Italy, a venue once tied to the powerful Borgia family. It was a full-on spectacle. The 3-day celebration began with a private dinner in Rome on November 16th, and by the wedding day, it looked like something out of a movie. There were flag bearers in Renaissance costumes, hundreds of candles, and Katie walking down the aisle in a custom ivory silk gown designed by Giorgio Armani. Over 150 A-list guests filled the castle, including Jim Carrey, Jennifer Lopez, and David Beckham. Andrea Bocelli even sang live at the reception while guests dined on a 5-tier white chocolate wedding cake. But not everyone saw the event as romantic. Actress Leah Remini, who later left Scientology, claimed the wedding was more of a PR stunt to promote the church than a real love story. She said bluntly, "It was as much about Scientology as it was about Tom and Katie." Behind the glamour, Katie was trapped in a world that didn't feel real anymore. Every move she made was being watched. Marty Rathbun, once one of Scientology's top insiders before leaving in 2004, said, "Katie was monitored like she was under the Stasi," referring to East Germany's secret police. He wasn't exaggerating. People around her, including Tom's own staff, were allegedly reporting everything back to Scientology leader David Miscavige. Even Tom's sisters were said to fear Miscavige more than Tom himself. For 15 years, every detail of Tom's personal life was reportedly funneled straight to Miscavige. Katie had zero privacy. The pressure built until it became unbearable, especially when she discovered that Tom planned to send their daughter Suri to Scientology's secretive gold base compound in Gilman Hot Springs, California. This massive 200-hectare property is used to train the church's most devoted members and is completely cut off from the public. That was Katie's breaking point. She knew she had to get out. But escaping Scientology wasn't simple. It had to be quiet, careful, and untraceable. In mid-June 2012, while on a trip to China, Katie started planning her secret exit. Her team gave her multiple disposable phones, burner phones, to contact her lawyers in New York without being tracked. She used them for legal advice and to reach out to someone who understood exactly what she was going through. Nicole Kidman, Tom's ex-wife. Nicole had survived her own high-profile Scientology divorce back in 2001, and according to sources, she and Katie spoke several times. Nicole told her to stay strong and be careful. Katie swapped out phones regularly to avoid being traced. By the time she finally called Tom in Iceland on June 28, 2012, to say it was over, she had already secured 3 different law firms across 3 states. Neither Tom nor the church saw it coming. Insiders later called it one of the darkest days in Scientology's history. 2 months before filing, Katie made another quiet but calculated move. She fired Isabella Cruz, Tom's adopted daughter with Nicole, from her fashion label Holmes & Yang. Isabella had been working closely with Katie and even called her mom. The firing shocked everyone at the time, but once the divorce went public, it all made sense. Isabella's position had allegedly given the church inside access to Katie's business and private life. By letting her go, Katie cut off one of Scientology's last connections to her world. When it came time to file for divorce, Katie chose New York instead of California, and that decision changed everything. In California, courts tend to favor joint custody, but in New York, judges are far more likely to pick one parent. Katie wanted full custody of Suri, and New York law gave her the edge. Attorney Joshua Foreman explained that New York courts don't like forcing joint custody. On top of that, New York allowed her to file the case anonymously, something California wouldn't have permitted. That meant no public spectacle, no leaked documents, and no church interference. A few weeks earlier, Katie had quietly rented an apartment in Manhattan under the guise of privacy, but really, she was laying the groundwork for her escape, and she didn't do it alone. In the months leading up to her bold move, Katie reached out to several former Scientologists, people who had escaped the system and lived to tell about it. They helped her understand how to protect herself, how to disappear from the church's radar, and how to build a new life safely. It wasn't just a breakup. It was an undercover operation to regain her freedom. One of the key people who quietly stood by Katie's side during her escape was Jenna Miscavige Hill, the niece of Scientology's powerful leader, David Miscavige. Jenna had broken free from the church years earlier and become one of its most outspoken critics. After Katie filed for divorce, Jenna released a public message of support that sent shockwaves through the media. She revealed that growing up inside Scientology was mentally and sometimes physically abusive, and said as a mother she fully stood with Katie Holmes. She urged her to stay strong and never look back. Katie also kept close contact with Nicole Kidman, who knew better than anyone what Katie was going through. Nicole had lost contact with her adopted children after her own split from Tom Cruise, and Katie didn't want history to repeat itself with Suri. According to Us Weekly, the two women had been speaking in the weeks leading up to the divorce. Nicole reportedly told her, "Hang in there. I know how hard it can be." Then came the twist no one expected. The divorce wrapped up in just 11 days. The speed was shocking. Insiders said it was one of the quickest high-profile settlements Hollywood had ever seen. The financial side of it all was handled by a prenup that shaped everything. Katie didn't receive any spousal support from Tom's estimated $250 million fortune, but she did secure $400,000 per year in child support for Suri. That's roughly $33,000 every month until she turns 18. Over the years, that totals about $4.8 million. Tom also agreed to cover every cost tied to Suri's life, her medical care, her education, and all her extracurriculars. He even created a trust fund for her, giving her partial access at 18 and full control in her 30s. It looked like the perfect clean break, until more details came out later. On September 9, 2013, Tom Cruise sat for a deposition in a $50 million lawsuit he'd filed against Bauer Publishing. The case revolved around magazine stories claiming he'd abandoned Suri. Under oath, Tom was asked directly whether Katie had left him to protect their daughter from Scientology. His answer stunned everyone. He said that was one of the assertions. Yes. It was one of the only times Tom publicly admitted that Scientology played a role in the divorce. He quickly added that he found the question offensive and insisted there was no need to protect Suri from the church, but that single word, yes, confirmed what millions had long suspected. Tom also admitted that Katie had been involved in Scientology during their marriage, but walked away the moment she filed for divorce. He confirmed Suri was no longer practicing Scientology and revealed that his two older children with Nicole Kidman had completely cut ties with Katie. Then came another bombshell hidden in the court documents. Filed on November 6, 2013, they showed Tom hadn't seen Suri for 110 days after the split. He claimed they talked on the phone almost daily, but during those months, paparazzi caught him vacationing and hanging out at bars instead. Fans noticed, and they didn't hold back their judgment. People began questioning how involved he really was in his daughter's life. The emotional fallout continued years later. On November 3, 2015, actress Leah Remini, another famous ex-Scientologist, appeared on Good Morning America and opened up about Katie. Leah had spent nearly 30 years in the church before breaking free in 2013, and seeing Katie and Suri living freely hit her hard. "I'm touched by it," Leah said, her voice cracking with emotion, "because I know now she did what she did, leaving Scientology the way she did because she had to protect her daughter. That connects us." It was a rare, raw moment between two women who had both escaped the same powerful system. Even before her dramatic divorce, Katie had already shown she wasn't afraid to fight for herself. Back on March 1, 2011, she filed a $50 million libel lawsuit against Star magazine after it ran a shocking cover story titled "Addiction Nightmare, Katie Drug Shocker," paired with an unflattering photo. Her legal team argued that the story falsely implied she was a drug addict and seriously harmed her reputation. Katie didn't back down, and she won. The case was settled on April 27, 2011. As part of the agreement, Star published a front-page apology in its May 9th issue, stating, The magazine did not intend to suggest Katie Holmes was a drug addict or was undergoing treatment for drug addiction. The publisher, American Media Inc., even made a donation to Katie's chosen charity, the Dizzy Feet Foundation, which helps underprivileged kids access dance education. That win wasn't just about money, it was about power. It showed Katie Holmes wasn't the fragile Hollywood wife tabloids painted her to be. She was a fighter, protecting her name, her child, and her freedom, all while breaking away from one of the most secretive organizations in the world.